The starship Resolute drifted silently through the darkness of space. Its sleek metal hull reflected the distant stars as it approached the meeting point. Commander Alan Wright sat in his command chair, his fingers tapping nervously against the armrest. This was humanity's first official contact with the Zarkonian Empire, and everything needed to go perfectly. "Status report," he said, his voice steady despite his nerves. Lieutenant Kate Summers looked up from her station. "Translation systems are ready, Commander. I've programmed all known Zarkonian dialects into the computer." "Good work, Lieutenant," Wright nodded. Kate was the best xenolinguist in the fleet. If anyone could help them communicate with these aliens, it was her. On the main screen, a massive ship appeared. It was at least 3 times the size of the Resolute, with strange blue lights pulsing along its dark surface. The Zarkonian flagship had arrived. "They're hailing us," said Communications Officer Diane Powell, her hands moving quickly across her console. "On screen," ordered Wright, straightening his uniform. The screen flickered, and a tall, blue-skinned figure appeared. The alien had ridges along its skull, and 4 yellow eyes that seemed to look through Wright rather than at him. "I am High Admiral Krell of the Zarkonian Empire," the alien said in a surprisingly clear voice. "We accept your request for diplomatic talks." Wright stood. "Thank you, Admiral. I am Commander Alan Wright of the Earth Defense Fleet. We look forward to establishing peaceful relations between our peoples." Krell's upper eyes narrowed slightly. "Indeed. Prepare your diplomatic team. You will board our vessel in 1 Earth hour." The screen went dark before Wright could respond. "Well, that was abrupt," muttered Dr. Eric Barnes from the science station. The scientist pushed his glasses up his nose, frowning. "What do you expect? They're a warrior culture," said Wright. "Lieutenant Summers, Dr. Barnes, you'll join me on the diplomatic team. Officer Powell, prepare our gift packages. Jack, you have the con while we're gone." Engineer Jack Martinez nodded from his engineering station. "Understood, sir, but I don't like you going over there." Wright smiled. "First contact protocols, Jack. We go to them." An hour later, Wright led his small team onto the Zarkonian ship. The interior was cold and dimly lit with the same blue glow they had seen from outside. Tall Zarkonian guards led them through winding corridors to a large chamber. Admiral Krell waited for them, surrounded by other Zarkonians in ornate armor. "Welcome aboard the Dominance," said Krell. "Please, sit." The humans took their seats at a long metal table. Kate noticed how the chairs seemed too tall for humans, forcing them to look up at their hosts. A subtle power move, she thought. As Wright began his prepared speech about peace and cooperation, Dr. Barnes discreetly scanned the room with a small device hidden in his sleeve. His eyes widened at the readings. "We have studied your kind for some time." Krell interrupted Wright mid-sentence. "Your rapid technological advancement is concerning. We've only wanted to improve our world and explore the stars," Wright responded carefully. Krell made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Yes, all species say that. But few develop faster than light travel only 50 years after their first spaceflight." Kate frowned, noticing hostility in Krell's tone that wasn't coming through in the translation. She made a small adjustment to her translator. "Unstable primitives with disturbing potential." She caught the end of what a Zarkonian official was whispering to another. Dr. Barnes slipped her a note. "They're scanning us. Deep scans. Medical, genetic, neural. This isn't standard diplomatic protocol." Wright continued speaking, unaware of these developments. "Earth hopes to learn from the Zarkonian Empire's great wisdom and experience." "Yes," said Krell, all 4 eyes now focused intently on Wright. "We have much to teach your young species about the proper order of the galaxy." Kate felt a chill run down her spine. Under the table, she squeezed Dr. Barnes' arm in warning. Something was very wrong here. "Perhaps you would like to see our historical archives," Krell continued. "They detail our impressive military campaigns over the last 1,000 years. Wright smiled politely, missing the threat in Krell's words. "We would be honored, Admiral." But Kate and Eric exchanged worried glances. This wasn't a diplomatic meeting. It was an assessment. 3 days passed aboard the Zarkonian flagship. Commander Wright and his team attended endless meetings and tours, each designed to showcase Zarkonian power. They saw weapons that could destroy planets, shields that could withstand supernovas, and star charts marking thousands of conquered worlds. "They're not being subtle, are they?" Jack Martinez whispered as they were escorted back to their quarters after another long day. Kate shook her head. "It's all about intimidation. Classic power display." The next morning, they gathered in the grand meeting hall for the formal diplomatic ceremony. The room was filled with high-ranking Zarkonians, all watching the humans with cold, calculating eyes. High Admiral Krell entered, wearing elaborate armor that glittered under the blue lights. He took his seat at the head of the table, towering over the humans. "Today we formalize relations between the Zarkonian Empire and Earth," Krell announced. "But first, we must address certain concerns." Wright nodded politely. "Of course, Admiral. We're open to discussing any issues." Krell's upper eyes narrowed. "Your planet. This Earth. It is a quarantine-worthy backwater that has somehow produced a dangerously unstable species." The room fell silent. Wright blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "I'm sorry, Admiral, but I believe there might be a translation error," Wright said carefully. "There is no error," Krell replied. "Humans advance too quickly. You fight too fiercely. Your history is filled with violence against your own kind. Species like yours are typically contained, not welcomed into galactic society." Wright kept his face neutral, though his hands clenched under the table. "Admiral, while its true humanity has a complex history, we've worked hard to overcome our violent tendencies. Our rapid advancement comes from our curiosity and drive to improve." "A convenient explanation," Krell said dismissively. "Yet our studies suggest otherwise." Kate leaned forward. "Admiral, I believe there's a cultural misunderstanding here. In human culture, direct criticism without prior relationship building can be seen as..." "Silence," Krell cut her off. "Your diplomatic tricks won't work here. We understand humans better than you think." Dr. Barnes cleared his throat. "Perhaps if you shared your specific concerns, we could address them directly." Krell stood, looming over the table. "Very well. The Zarkonian Empire requires Earth to surrender its outer colonies as a safety measure. Your species will be restricted to your home system until you have proven yourselves trustworthy over several generations." Diane Powell, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up in shock. Wright fought to keep his expression calm. "Admiral, that's not a reasonable request. Those colonies are home to millions of people." "It is not a request," Krell said coldly. "It is a requirement for peace." Wright stood as well, though he barely reached Krell's shoulder. "I don't have the authority to surrender Earth territories. I must consult with my government." "Your reluctance proves our concerns are valid," said another Zarkonian official. "A properly obedient species would comply immediately." Wright took a deep breath. "Admiral Krell, humanity values its independence highly. We came here seeking friendship between equals, not submission." Krell made a sharp gesture, and guards moved closer to the humans. "Then you came with false pretenses. No species is equal to the Zarkonian Empire." Diane Powell's hand moved subtly to her pocket, activating a hidden recording device. "This wasn't going to end well." "We will allow you to return to your ship to consider our terms," Krell said. "You have 1 Earth day to agree, or we will take more direct measures." As they were escorted out, Wright noticed Zarkonian battleships moving into position around the Resolute. Back on their ship, the team gathered in Wright's office. "They planned this all along," Kate said, pacing the room. "They never intended to establish peaceful relations." Jack checked his console. "We're surrounded, Commander. 6 warships, weapons hot." Wright's face hardened. "Contact Earth. Priority Alpha. And begin calculating emergency jump options." "What are you thinking, sir?" asked Diane. Wright looked at each of his crew members. I'm thinking the Zarkonians just made a very big mistake. They believe they're dealing with diplomats. He straightened his uniform. They're about to learn they're dealing with humans. The emergency alarm blared through the Resolute. Red lights flashed in every corridor as the crew rushed to their stations. Commander Wright stood at the command center, his face grim as he watched the main screen. "Status report," he ordered. 6 Zarkonian warships in attack formation around us, Jack reported from his station. And we just received a transmission from New Horizon Colony. Wright's stomach dropped. Put it through. The screen flickered to show chaos. Buildings burned in the background as a bloodied colony official appeared. "This is Governor Sam Lewis of New Horizon. We're under attack by Zarkonian forces. They came without warning." The transmission cut off abruptly. The bridge fell silent. Kate covered her mouth in horror. "New Horizon has over 3,000 civilians," Diane whispered. "Families. Children." Wright's hands gripped the console until his knuckles turned white. "Get me Admiral Krell." Moments later, Krell's face appeared on screen, looking smug. "A precautionary measure," Krell said before Wright could speak. "Your colony was developing military technology too close to our territory." "That's a research station," Wright shouted, his calm facade cracking. "There are no weapons there." "Our scans detected potential weapons development," Krell said dismissively. "The loss of 300 lives is regrettable but necessary to ensure Zarkonian security." Dr. Barnes looked up from his console. 300. They're still attacking. Wright fought to control his anger. "Admiral Krell, this is an act of war against Earth. Withdraw your forces immediately." "You are in no position to make demands," Krell replied. "This demonstration should make our terms clear. Surrender your colonies, or we will take them one by one." The screen went dark. Wright turned to his crew, his eyes blazing. "Options. Now." Jack stepped forward. "Sir, I've been studying their shield frequencies. There's a pattern to them. If we time it right, we might be able to slip past their blockade." "How?" asked Kate. "Their shields pulse every 12 seconds. There's a millisecond delay between pulses. If we hit full thrust exactly at that moment, we might make it through." "And if we're off by even a fraction of a second?" Wright asked. Jack swallowed hard. "We'll be vaporized, sir." Wright nodded. "Dr. Barnes, can you confirm this shield pattern?" Barnes adjusted his glasses as he studied his readings. "Yes, Commander. It's subtle, but it's there. I can time it precisely." "Then let's do it. We need to warn Earth." Wright turned to his communications officer. "Diane, prepare a message capsule with everything we've learned about the Zarkonians. If we don't make it, at least Earth will know what they're facing." The crew worked frantically, preparing for their desperate escape attempt. Wright recorded a final message to Admiral Krell. "Begin transmission," he ordered. Krell's face appeared, looking annoyed. "Have you reconsidered our generous offer?" Wright leaned forward. "Admiral Krell, I want to be perfectly clear. You have made a grave miscalculation. What you've done today isn't just an attack on a colony. It's an attack on all of humanity." Krell laughed. "Bold words from a trapped animal." "Remember those words when you realize what you've awakened," Wright replied calmly. "End transmission." He turned to his crew. "Battle stations. Jack, take the helm." Jack slid into the pilot's seat, hands hovering over the controls. Dr. Barnes counted down as he watched the shield patterns. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now. Jack slammed the thrusters to maximum. The Resolute shot forward, engines screaming as they pushed beyond safe limits. The ship shuddered violently as it scraped the edge of the Zarkonian shields. Alarms blared as systems overloaded. Sparks flew from consoles. Wright held onto his chair as the ship bucked and pitched. Then suddenly, they were clear, hurtling through open space. "We made it," Kate shouted. "Damage report," Wright ordered. ignoring the blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. "Engines at 40%. Weapons offline. But we're alive," Jack reported, his hands still shaking. Wright nodded grimly. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. And prepare for war." Behind them, the Zarkonian ships scrambled to pursue, but the Resolute had already vanished into the darkness of space, carrying a warning that would soon change the galaxy forever. The emergency meeting room at Earth Defense Headquarters was packed with military leaders. The air felt heavy with tension as Commander Wright finished presenting his report. Images of the destroyed New Horizon colony floated on screens around the room. Fleet Admiral Olivia Grant stood up, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, her eyes hard as steel. 327 civilians dead. An unprovoked attack after a false diplomatic invitation. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the fury beneath it. "The Zarkonians believe we'll either surrender or fight a conventional war," Wright explained. "They're confident in their superior numbers and technology." Admiral Grant nodded slowly, "Which is exactly why we won't do either." She pressed a button on her console. "Activate Protocol Hornet's Nest." The screen changed to show a complex battle plan. Wright looked at it with surprise. "You were expecting this?" he asked. "Not specifically the Zarkonians," Grant replied. "But we've prepared for this scenario. Humanity has always known we weren't alone in the universe, Commander. And we've been preparing for both friends and enemies." She turned to a tall man in a black uniform with no insignia. "Captain Frank Daniels, Special Operations." Briefed them. Daniels stepped forward. "For the past 15 years, we've been placing sleeper agents throughout this sector of space. Some disguised as traders, others as scientific researchers. When the Zarkonian Empire first appeared on our long-range scans 5 years ago, we increased our efforts." Dr. Barnes looked shocked. "But we only officially discovered the Zarkonians 8 months ago." "Officially, yes," Daniels replied with a thin smile. "In reality, we've been studying them for years. Every scientific expedition we've sent out has had a secondary mission: to map potential threats and place countermeasures." Wright shook his head in disbelief. "All those research ships were also military assets," confirmed Grant. "Did you think Earth would expand into space without taking precautions?" On another screen, a map of Zarkonian space appeared, with dozens of blinking red dots. "These are our operatives," Daniels explained. "At my signal, they'll activate and begin sabotage operations throughout Zarkonian territory." Lieutenant Summers studied the map. "Their communication relays are your primary targets." Daniels nodded. "Smart observation, Lieutenant. Without their faster-than-light communications, their fleet coordination falls apart." A new person entered the room. A short man with thick glasses and rumpled clothes. "Sorry I'm late. The new jamming field needed adjustment." Grant nodded to him. "This is Peter Hansen, Chief Strategic Officer. He's been leading our technological development program." Hansen adjusted his glasses nervously. "The Zarkonians scan all signals coming from Earth. That's why we maintain the fiction that we're still developing our military technology. In reality," he pressed a button, and new images appeared, showing massive shipyards hidden inside asteroids and massive weapons platforms disguised as mining stations. "We're not nearly as vulnerable as they believe," Hansen finished. Wright looked around the room with new understanding. "You've been preparing for war all along." "We've been preparing to survive," Grant corrected. "Humanity has a long history of being invaded by those who believe themselves superior. We don't make the same mistake twice." Kate Summers had been working at a console, reviewing Zarkonian communications. She looked up suddenly. "Admiral, I've decoded their latest transmissions. They're planning to attack Earth directly. A fleet of 50 warships will arrive in 3 days." Grant nodded calmly. "Sooner than expected, but not a problem." She turned to the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, for decades humanity has presented itself to the galaxy as peaceful explorers. Today, we remind the galaxy why peace was always our choice. not our necessity. She looked at each person in the room. Deploy the fleet. Activate all sleeper agents. Begin Operation Trojan. As the room burst into activity, Wright stepped closer to Grant. The Zarkonians think they're hunting sheep, don't they? Grant's smile was cold. They're about to discover they've been poking a nest of wolves. High Admiral Krell stood on the bridge of the Zarkonian flagship Dominance, watching the massive fleet gather for the attack on Earth. 50 warships, each capable of destroying a small moon, formed a deadly arrow formation. The humans have made no attempt to contact us, reported his second-in-command. As expected, Krell said with satisfaction. They cower in fear, hoping for mercy. He turned to his weapons officer. Begin the attack. Target their orbital stations first. The Zarkonian fleet surged forward, weapons charging as they approached Earth's outer defense perimeter. Scanners showed only a few scattered ships and what appeared to be civilian stations. This will be even easier than predicted, Krell said with a laugh. Their defenses are pathetic. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. The civilian stations were transforming, panels sliding away to reveal weapon ports and shield generators. The scattered ships moved into perfect formation with practiced precision. What is happening? Krell demanded. On the main screen, the face of Admiral Olivia Grant appeared. Her expression was calm and professional. Admiral Krell, this is Earth Fleet Admiral Olivia Grant. You have entered Earth-controlled space with hostile intent after murdering our citizens. This is your only warning to retreat. Krell sneered. Your tricks are impressive, human, but our scans show your weapons are no match for our fleet. Surrender now, and we will make your defeat quick. Grant's expression didn't change. This was merely our opening move. You still have time to reconsider. The connection cut off. Krell turned to his weapons officer. Fire on the nearest station. The Zarkonian cruiser launched its attack, energy beams lancing toward a human station. The humans made no attempt to evade. The beams struck the station's shields and bounced back, hitting 2 Zarkonian ships. Impossible, shouted Krell as the ships exploded. Across the fleet, chaos erupted. A third of the Zarkonian ships suddenly jumped away, their navigation systems corrupted by a hidden virus Dr. Barnes had planted months earlier. The remaining ships found themselves facing the human fleet that seemed to know exactly where to hit their shields at their weakest points. On the engineering deck of the human flagship Defiance, Jack Martinez monitored his experimental adaptive shield technology. The system analyzed enemy weapons in real time and adjusted shield frequencies to absorb and redirect the energy. It's working perfectly, he reported to Admiral Grant. The Zarkonians can't understand why their weapons are being turned against them. Grant nodded. And Captain Daniel's teams? All reporting success, replied Kate Summers from Communications. Zarkonian communication relays throughout their territory are offline. Their home fleet can't receive distress calls or send reinforcements. On the Dominance, Krell watched in horror as his carefully planned attack fell apart. Human ships moved with unexpected speed and coordination, taking down Zarkonian vessels with precise strikes to vulnerable areas that should have been unknown to them. How do they know our shield configurations? He demanded. How are they predicting our maneuvers? A junior officer approached nervously. Admiral, we've detected unusual activity in our computer systems. Something is accessing our tactical database. Krell slammed his fist on the console. Impossible. Our systems are secure. Sir, said his second-in-command, voice shaking, look at the human formation. The human ships had arranged themselves into a pattern that exactly matched the ceremonial battle formation from ancient Zarkonian texts, a formation that hadn't been used in combat for 1,000 years, but was still taught to Zarkonian commanders as part of their cultural education. It was a message. We know everything about you. As the Dominance shuddered under another hit, Krell opened a channel to Admiral Grant. This is not how honorable species wage war, he shouted. You fight with trickery and deception. Grant's face appeared on screen again. Behind her, the bridge was calm and organized. No panic, no chaos. No, Admiral Krell. This is how humans wage war when provoked. We fight to win. Her voice was steady. You study our history but learned the wrong lessons. You saw our conflicts and thought us primitive. You should have asked why, despite all those wars, we're still here. She leaned forward. The answer is simple. We adapt. And we never, ever give up. The Zarkonian War Council gathered in their sacred hall on their home planet. The walls, once adorned with trophies from 100 conquered worlds, now seemed to mock them. Admiral Krell stood before the Supreme Leader, his proud shoulders now slumped in defeat. Explain how this happened, the Supreme Leader demanded, his voice echoing in the quiet room. The humans. Krell began, then paused. The humans were not what they appeared to be. On Earth, Lieutenant Kate Summers worked with her team to prepare a special broadcast. They had spent days translating and compiling Earth's military history into Zarkonian language and format. Is this really necessary? Asked the junior officer. Kate nodded. The Zarkonians respect strength above all. To end this war quickly, we need to show them exactly who they're dealing with. In the main conference room, Commander Wright watched as Peter Hansen presented Earth's true military capabilities to the remaining Zarkonian commanders who had been captured. This is just one class of our stealth ships, Hansen explained, showing images of vessels that could slip past any detection system. We've had these in your territory for years. The Zarkonian officers watched in stunned silence as Hansen revealed weapon after weapon, strategy after strategy, all developed in secret while Earth presented a peaceful face to the galaxy. Back on the Zarkonian homeworld, the Supreme Leader and his council gathered to watch the broadcast from Earth. It began with ancient battles, Romans against Carthaginians, Mongols sweeping across Asia, the naval conflicts of the great powers. What is this primitive nonsense? Asked one council member. Keep watching, said another, his voice hushed. The images shifted to more recent conflicts, world wars, cold wars, guerrilla wars. The narration, perfectly translated into the Zarkonian high dialect, explained how each conflict forced humans to adapt, to develop new technologies and strategies at a pace unheard of in the galaxy. In our brief history, the narrator explained, humanity has developed more ways to fight than most species do in millennia. Not because we love war, but because we had to survive it. The broadcast showed how humans had mastered every form of warfare, from the brutality of close combat to the elegance of cyber attacks, from the direct approach of overwhelming force to the subtlety of deception and misdirection. On a captured Zarkonian ship, Commander Ben Lucas of Earth Special Forces sat across from Zarkonian Commander Vex. They had fought a brutal battle that ended with Vex's surrender after Lucas's team infiltrated his ship disguised as maintenance workers. I don't understand, Vex said, his pride wounded. How did your species advance so quickly in military technology? You were launching primitive rockets just a century ago. Lucas looked at him calmly. Because we've never stopped preparing for threats like you. In the Earth Defense Headquarters, Admiral Grant received reports from across Zarkonian space. Human sleeper agents had disabled key military installations. Special Forces teams had captured or destroyed their most advanced weapons platforms. The Zarkonian fleet was in disarray, unable to coordinate without their communication relays. The Zarkonian Supreme Leader is requesting to speak with you, Kate reported. Grant nodded. Put him through. The alien leader appeared on screen, his four eyes blinking rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in Zarkonians. Admiral Grant, he said formally. The Zarkonian Empire wishes to discuss terms. Grant's face remained neutral. Are you surrendering? The Supreme Leader does not surrender, he replied stiffly. But we are, open to a cessation of hostilities. Grant allowed herself a small smile. Very well. I will send Commander Wright to discuss terms. He has first-hand experience with Zarkonian diplomacy. After the transmission ended, Dr. Barnes approached Grant. "They still don't fully understand, do they?" "What do you mean?" asked Grant. "They think we won because we were secretly building weapons." Barnes shook his head. "They don't realize that our greatest weapon was never our technology." Grant nodded. "It was our history. Every invasion we survived, every war we fought, every time we faced extinction and refused to accept it. They all taught us something the Zarkonians never learned." "And what's that?" asked Kate, joining them. "That true strength," Grant said quietly, "comes from being underestimated and proving them wrong." 1 month after the failed Zarkonian attack, Commander Alan Wright stood in the grand meeting hall of the Zarkonian capital. This time, he wasn't a guest but a representative of Earth, standing tall beside Admiral Grant. The room was filled with Zarkonian officials, their body language showing a new emotion: respect. High Admiral Krell was gone, replaced by Admiral Thex, an older Zarkonian with battle scars across his blue face. Unlike Krell, Thex looked at the humans as equals. "We are ready to begin the peace negotiations," Thex announced formally. Admiral Grant nodded. "We appreciate your willingness to meet. Earth wants peace, but it must be a fair peace." The terms were laid out clearly. The Zarkonians would pay for rebuilding New Horizon Colony. They would recognize all human territories and agree to non-aggression. All prisoners would be returned. "These terms are acceptable," Thex said after reviewing them. "But what guarantees do we have that humans won't use their hidden strength against us in the future?" Wright stepped forward. "The same guarantee you have with any neighbor: mutual respect and understanding." Kate Summers worked with Zarkonian language experts to draft the peace treaty. She made sure every word was clear in both languages, leaving no room for misunderstandings. "This is the foundation for real peace," she told a young Zarkonian translator. "Not based on fear, but on clarity." In another room, Dr. Barnes and Jack Martinez met with Zarkonian scientists. On the table between them sat several data crystals. These contained medical and agricultural technologies we're willing to share, Barnes explained. "We believe technology should improve lives, not just win wars." The Zarkonian scientists examined the crystals with surprise. "You would share this knowledge with us after we attacked you?" Martinez nodded. "That's what humans do. We fight hard when provoked, but we're even better at making peace." Back in the main hall, a Zarkonian official questioned Grant directly. "How can we trust that there are no more human agents in our territory?" Grant's answer was simple: "You can't. Just as we can't be certain there are no Zarkonian spies on Earth. Trust will take time to build. That's why the treaty includes regular diplomatic meetings and cultural exchanges." Over the next few days, the two sides worked through the details of the peace agreement. The Zarkonians gradually relaxed as they realized the humans truly wanted peace, not revenge. On the final day, Admiral Thex approached Wright privately. "I reviewed the records of your first meeting with Krell. You tried to warn him, didn't you, when you said he had made a grave miscalculation?" Wright nodded. "War was never our first choice, but we will always defend our people." Thex looked out the window at the Zarkonian city below. "Our historians are updating our records about humans. Do you know what the new entry says?" "I can guess," Wright replied. "It says, humans, peaceful by choice, lethal when provoked." Thex turned back to Wright. "My people have ruled through fear for generations. Your people have shown us there is another way to be strong." The treaty signing ceremony was broadcast throughout both territories. As Grant and Thex pressed their thumbs to the document, cheers erupted from both human and Zarkonian crowds. Later, at the celebration dinner, Kate found Wright standing alone on a balcony, looking at the stars. "Thinking about New Horizon?" she asked gently. "And everything that happened after." Wright sighed. "All this could have been avoided if they had just treated us with respect from the beginning." Kate nodded. The Zarkonians had conquered so many worlds, They forgot that not all species would bow to threats. They know better now, Wright said. Across the room, Admiral Thex was addressing the Zarkonian High Council. His words would later be remembered as the beginning of a new era in Zarkonian history. The humans have taught us the difference between being civilized and being soft. They choose peace from a position of strength, not weakness. We would be wise to do the same. He raised his glass toward the human delegation. To our new allies, may we never again mistake their restraint for weakness.